Alright guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to head down to Yorkshire once again. We're going to go to Huddersfield and revisit a brewery who I've done on a number of occasions. And these guys are probably one of England's best known craft breweries actually. So we're going to return to Magic Rock Brewing, and today we're having a taste of the Fantasma. So this should be a really quite interesting beer for me. This one comes in at 6.5%, it's an IPA, but interestingly it's actually, as far as I can remember, the first gluten-free beer that I've reviewed for you on the channel. So I'm really interested to try this one and see how it turns out. I've heard very, very good things on Rate Beer overall. It has a 98 and within the style as well. Actually, it's rated outstanding on Beer Advocate, and it was well into the 4 stars as well when I checked out on Untappd. And we know that Magic Rock do some pretty damn good IPAs. So really interested to see how one of these gluten-free ones turns out. I don't think I've even drank a gluten-free IPA before. Brewdog for a long time, I've had their Vagabond of course, but really looking forward to this one. And as always, I hope you guys enjoy my take on this review. And of course, Magic Rock is one of my fellow beer tubers, local breweries. Rob from Hoppy, make sure you check out his channel if you haven't already. But anyway, as is usual with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Magic Rock before. There will no doubt be more in the near future. There's all the usual social media. If you want to see more beer reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel has a geography-based tagging system, so you can go into the home page and search for beer based on country, city, state, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlist of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the English beers that I've reviewed for you. That's constantly being added to. And as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, just a little bit about Magic Rock then before we taste the beer. So as I mentioned to you, Magic Rock Brewing are based in Huddersfield in Yorkshire in the northern part of England, and they were established back in 2011 by brothers Richard and Johnny Burhouse, although Johnny later left the company, but they were joined in the early days by brewer Stuart Ross. But the beer brewing began in mid-2011, and the beers proved so popular that the brewery won the accolade of Best New Brewery of 2012 from Rate Beer. But the brewery was largely inspired by the burgeoning craft beer market in the US, and these guys have been expanding their staff and capacity steadily ever since they established, due to just simply the sheer demand for their beers. But as of 2015, the brewery are based in the Willow Business Park in Birkby, and they now employ well over 30 people. This site actually has a brewing capacity of around 10,000 hectolitres per year and a fermentation capacity of around 70,000 litres, and they are constantly working to expand that, like I say, and they're always trying new recipes and things like that. Most of the beers that you get from these guys, if I'm not mistaken, will be IPAs. You will get the odd Imperial Stout and Porter and things like this, but these guys have become well known for for all these different IPAs and stuff, and they do a pretty damn good job. I've tried Hypnotist, Clairvoyance, and all of these sorts of things. So if you get the chance to try some of these Magic Rock beers, I highly recommend that you do, because they're some of the best IPAs that you'll find in England. There's loads of good breweries in England these days. Beavertown, Magic Rock, Dea, loads of really good stuff. So if you get a chance to try some of these English craft beers, they are pretty damn good. But that's all you need to know about the brewery just now. Let's get on to the tasting itself. If you want to know more, of course, the websites and stuff are in the description below. So anyway, a little bit about this beer. So like I mentioned at the start of this video, this one's a 6.5% IPA. The hops in this one are Magnum and Citra T90. It's got a malt base of Golden Promise, wheat and Cara Munich, and in this beer they've used an interesting enzyme called brewer's Celiacs, and this modifies proteins and basically helps cut down on the gluten that's in the beer, and that's why it's suitable for celiac. So it's quite an interesting thing. If you go on to the Magic Rock website, I'll actually put that link in the description below as well. You can click on brewer's Celiacs, and if you're really into chemistry and physics and stuff like me, you can have a read about what this enzyme does, and it's really actually quite clever, because a lot of chemistry, a lot of brewing and things is all about dimerizing sugars and stuff like this. So it's a really interesting bit of chemistry if you're into that sort of thing. If you just like drinking the beer, then all you need to know, brewer's Celiacs breaks down the gluten and kind of makes it more suitable for celiacs to drink. So yeah, so here's a little look at the artwork before we open it up then. I always love these big tall boy cans that you get from Magic Rock. I do like this kind of style of artwork. It reminds me a little bit of the Minions. It's almost like stoned Minions in a way, which is always quite funny. And there you can see on the back here, just check you're seeing this on the camera control, there's the Magic Rock symbol on this one. It's almost like a little bit like a castle gate. But I do like how they always present their cans. So without further ado then, let's get this guy out and we'll get on with the tasting then. This of course was another beer that I bought from Durham Wines in the market when I was down there, and I tell you something, when you take a little sniff of this out of the can, you really can smell some of that nice citra coming off. The Magnum really just gives you a kind of quite slightly spicy, sort of floral aromatic thing. It doesn't have too much in the way of fruity aromas or anything like that. It's more the citra in this beer that I think you're going to get the aroma from, and you can smell that nice big mango character already as you open it up. But yeah, as you can see, and as you would expect, this beer's poured a nice kind of hazy golden colour. If I hold it up to the light, I would say definitely kind of a more, it's got a nice orange tinge to it. It's somewhere in the middle of yellow and orange. There's a nice finger of a frothy but a little bit bumpy white head on this one. One or two big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, and quite a few little ones just heading up towards the bottom of that head there. But overall it looks really nice. A few bigger bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass like I'm saying. And as you're moving this beer around, you really can smell some of that nice mango note. So let's take a closer look at the aroma then and see how we get on. Yeah, straight away citra. If you're into your craft beers, you'll know exactly what I mean. But yeah, definitely citra coming out of this one. So with citra, you get this nice mango note. That's coming out right away. You can smell just a teeny little bit of grapefruit or passion fruit under that. But definitely the nice juicy mangoes that you'd expect of the citra. As you take it in a bit more deeply, I always find you get a little bit of lychee or a little bit of kind of gooseberry in it as well. Sometimes there can be a wee bit of lemon and lime. And I think with this one, you can pick up just a little bit of a lemony note out of this. And there's definitely lychees. Definitely a little bit of lychee, I think. And some gooseberry as well. Interestingly about this one, usually you can get a good bit of floral aromatic character. You can just get that kind of distinctive hoppy floral type thing. With this one, for me, the juiciness of the fruits covers that up quite a lot. There's not so much of a floral character coming out of this one for me. When you sugar it up a little bit right enough, you can get a little bit of that distinctive floral character out of it, but there's a little bit of an almost grassy character, and that's kind of mixing in with the fruits quite well. Underneath you can smell a little bit of that white bread, which will be coming from the wheat malt, and there's a bit of a biscuity kind of quality as well, which will be the Cara Munich, of course. Quite a popular malt to use in the likes of Helles and Dunkels and things like that. I love Munich Helles and Dunkel beers, of course. You've probably seen that in a few of my reviews previously if you've watched them. But yeah, nice bready base to this one, a little bit of biscuit, but like I'm saying, the aroma on this one is kind of dominated a little bit by the citra, and it does, you can smell there's a little bit of a difference with this one. It almost smells just a little bit more bready and things, which is quite interesting, almost just a little bit more grainy, I would say actually, rather than bready with the thing. And I do wonder if that's one of the things with the gluten-free beers. You can smell that the malt base on this one it just smells that little bit more grainy. But I always remember Magic Rock, in fairness, having a little bit more of a grainy smell and malt base to the likes of Cloudwater and stuff like this. But it should be a really interesting beer. As I say, my first ever gluten-free beer that I've reviewed for you. And if I'm remembering correctly, it might even be the first one I've ever tasted. So let's see how we get on with this. So this one is the Fantasma, a gluten-free IPA at 6.5% from Magic Rock Brewing in Huddersfield, Yorkshire in England. Slàinte, skål. That's really nice. I do like that. You can, if I'm remembering my other Magic Rock beers right, you can just tell there's a little bit of a difference in the malt base, but it really makes up. It's not even that it has to compensate. I'm not even sure how to describe this accurately, but the malt base in this one, it does feel a little bit different. Like I was picking up in the aroma, it does just almost feel a little bit more grainy, but it's certainly, the hoppy characters of this one certainly almost compensate for it, but it's not having to compensate, if that makes sense. But that's a really good beer. I can see immediately, as is the case with a lot of these Magic Rock beers, you know, I can see why it's so highly rated already. It's really good. I mean, it has everything you want from an IPA. Hoppy side of things is really nice. In the back corners of the palate, you get that little bit of earthiness. As you come further forward along the side of the tongue, you can feel there's a little touch of herbal quality, I think. The Magnum, I always remember the Magnum does give you a little bit of herbal quality. But as you come further forward, as you move towards the front corners of your tongue, there's a nice floral aromatic note. There's a little bit of spice there. Around the front curve of the tongue, there's a little bit of a slightly grassy note, and then just behind the front curve of the palate, you've got that little oily bubble where the kind of juicy, fruity flavours come out. And yeah, that's really nice. I mean, just behind the front curve of the palate there, as I say, that little oily bubble, you can feel there's a little bit of a, I want to say it's more of a kind of passion fruity note, to be honest. There's a little bit of that stronger passion fruit, grapefruit thing, that dark, oily, tropical fruit in there. You can feel that just underpinning the beer. Then as you kind of go forward with it a little bit, you start to get the more juicy mangoes, and you've seen how long it was since I've taken a sip now. At this point, you start to get the more kind of complex things that you would get out of the Citra. You get a little bit of the kind of lychee. There's not so much of a gooseberry note with this one. I think there's a little bit of a lemon limey character. There's a wee bit of a sharper lemon to this one, which is quite interesting. I do wonder if the T90 strain of Citra is a little bit different from some of the other ones. I'm not too sure about that, of course. But you definitely get a little bit of that lemony character, and the grass and floral notes start to push their way out again as well. But yeah, that's a really nice beer. In terms of the malt base though, this is where I think it's going to get interesting with this. You can feel, I thought I'd just let my palate develop a wee bit with that and just see how we get on, but with the malt base on this one, for me, I always remember the Magic Rock beers being a little bit more oily and hop forward, if that makes sense, and the malt base isn't quite as prominent as it is in some of the other breweries that I can think of, like Cloudwater and stuff. But with the malt base in this one, you can feel as you go further into the aftertaste, there's a little bit of this grainy character that comes out. I do wonder exactly what that brewer's Celiacs is doing to it, because I mean, you can feel that there's a little bit of that wheat and Pilsner malt in there. It's almost like pardon me, probably a good way to describe this beer actually, is that it's like an IPA in the hoppy sense, but in terms of the malt base, it's almost a little bit more like a Pils or something like that. Do pardon me, sorry. It is a little bit more like a Pils, something like that, which is really interesting. I mean, you can feel this grainy character. In the middle of your palate, you've got a little bit of that sort of biscuity, kind of grainy character. The malt base really does remind me quite a bit of a Pilsner malt. I do wonder what the ratios are, if it's the Cara Pils malt that's kind of doing that, but usually I would guess with the way that they've done this one, it's probably the Golden Promise that is the base malt, or maybe the wheat that's the base malt in this one. Probably not the wheat going by the thing, it's probably the Golden Promise, I would think, that is their base malt. And the Cara Munich, they won't add too much of that because it will just dominate the flavour of the beer. But it's really nice, and I think that's a good way to describe it. It is almost like an IPA, but it's got a little bit more of a kind of Pilsnery malt base to it. The grainy notes in this are really interesting, but you can feel a little bit. For me, I do wonder if that's the distinctive thing with this Brewer's Class. It just gives you a little bit more of that almost Pilsnery malt base, but regardless, it's a really good beer. And if you tried that along with the likes of Hypnotist or Clairvoyance and things like that, it certainly isn't out of place, and that's a really cool thing. If they can develop a beer like this that's suitable for celiacs, then that's really, really cool. It's all about inclusiveness and things like that, so it's really cool that they've managed to develop this beer, and it's certainly as good as some of the kind of normal beers, I guess you would say, that they've produced. So in terms of the mouthfeel of this one then, I would say mid-bodied. I don't think there's any doubt about that. Carbonation is quite smooth on this one. It leans towards the oily side of things with the mouthfeel. There's a good balance in the malt base between a little bit of sweetness and there's a little bit of graininess in there as well. There's a really nice hoppy bitterness to it, and it's well balanced with the juicy fruits. And I do like the way that the Citra comes out with that slightly darker tropical fruit, but that balances really well with the Magnum. So overall, like I say, it's a really nice beer. Certainly not out of place with the other IPAs that you would expect from Magic Rock. So yeah, I think that's a good way to kind of sum this one up. But once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Magic Rock, and do of course give me some other recommendations for English craft breweries that I might not have heard of. So thank you once again for watching, and I will catch you guys very soon. The Fantasma, my first ever gluten-free beer, I think, that I've reviewed for you on the channel, from Magic Rock Brewery in Huddersfield in England. Until the next time, slandered just now, and I will catch you guys very soon. Cheers. Make sure you check out this beer. Really good stuff.